What's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Holly and this is my booktube channel. I talk about books and reading and everything in that realm. And today I don't have coffee, surprisingly. I have a mango sparkling water because it is 90 degrees outside here in Texas. It is hot and I'm wearing a sweatshirt because the refrigerated air inside is freezing. So you just can't win. You're either sweating or you're freezing. That's just the way it goes here in Texas. So let's jump into this video. So I come to you today a little bit ashamed, just a little, because I told y'all that April was going to be a book buying ban month. Of course I said that, and then I had a really crazy week at work and in my personal life. Just nothing bad happened, it was just crazy. One of those weeks when you feel like you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And my therapy is buying books. And I think my husband knew that I had had a hard week because he said, go buy yourself some books. I said, but I'm on a book buying ban, I can't. He goes, you need to go buy books. You've had a tough week. It makes you feel better. Go buy books. So who am I to argue? Long story short, I broke the ban with husband permission, so that makes it somewhat not my fault. And I'm gonna share the books that I bought with y'all today. You can see here, I have a pretty good bag of books. My mom and I only went to 2 bookstores today, so not bad. We stopped by a used bookstore and a local kind of indie bookstore as well. So I got 6 books, which isn't bad. I could have done a lot more damage, but I got 6 books and they're all ones that have been on my list for quite a while, so I'm so excited. Let's jump into it. First up, I got Bewitched, Bothered, and Biscotti. Do y'all remember in my last video how I read Brownies and Broomsticks? Well, that was the first book in this cozy mystery series, and the used bookstore we went to had number 2. I was so excited. My mom actually found it before I did. She just happened to say the title of it out loud, and I went, what did you say? What did you just find? And I was so excited to find it. And it was a great price. I think I paid like $3 or $4 for it. So yay, I got number 2 in the series. And if y'all didn't watch my last video, this is part of the Magical Bakery mystery series. Essentially, there's a main character who goes to Georgia to run this bakery with her aunt. And this is not a spoiler, but she finds out that she comes from a family of witches and that she has magical powers. And in the first book, someone turns up dead and her uncle is a suspect and she has to go figuring out who did it in order to clear his name. And at the tail end of the first one, we're still left on a cliffhanger as to which love interest she's gonna go towards. The hunky firefighter or the kind of bad boy reporter. That's sort of the love triangle she was trapped in. So maybe in this one, we'll see which way she goes, and I believe another murder's gonna happen. Yep, it says she stumbles upon a corpse. In every cozy mystery, somebody dies. There's just a lot of death in these poor people's lives. So I'm sure she's gonna go about sleuthing and figuring out who did it and who committed this murder. And if the first book is any indication, I'm sure I will love the second one as well. That is Bewitched, Bothered, and Biscotti by Bailey Cates. Next up, I got The Whisper Man by Alex North. I have seen this go around Bookstagram and BookTube, and it's piqued my interest for sure. And I don't know a ton about it, but just reading the back, I know that I'm gonna like it. So essentially your main character is Tom and his young son, Jake. Tom's wife has just died and they go to a new town to try to get a fresh start and start over after dealing with her death. But apparently this town has a really dark past. 20 years ago, a serial killer abducted and murdered 5 of the residents. So this serial killer was nicknamed the Whisper Man, hence the title. And the reason he was named the Whisper Man is because he would lure his victims by whispering in their windows at night. So again, Tom and Jake move to this new town, but just as they do that, a young boy vanishes. And the crime is looking eerily like the Whisper Man's crimes from 20 years ago. So everything starts getting really weird, and Jake, the son, starts hearing whispering at his window. And that's all it says, but it sounds fascinating. Y'all know me, anything serial killer, I'm on board. I think this is gonna be so good. I've heard a lot of really good things about it, and I can't wait to get to it. That's The Whisper Man by Alex North. This next book is one that I've debated a long time whether or not to pick up because I wasn't sure if I'd like it, but today I saw it and it was for a really good price, so I thought, you know what, that's my sign. I'm just gonna get it. And that is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. Rachel Hawkins has written a number of thriller type of books, and I think this one sounds really good. Apparently it takes place on an island, and it's kind of like this desolate island out in the Pacific Ocean, but it's got this really mysterious history of like shipwrecks, cannibalism, murder. And it says that you're following 6 people who are like 20-something years old, and they're going on this big journey on the island, and after a while they start to realize this island is way more cut off from civilization than they would really like. And then one person goes missing and another one turns up dead, and the other friends are wondering what is going on in this island, what kind of dark secrets it has, and I guess that's really all it says. It's kind of, I don't want to call it a locked room thriller, but it kind of feels like one because they're on a practically deserted island with just the 6 of them. So the people that are turning up missing and dead, it kind of makes you wonder, did one of the other 4 do something? Or is there something actually on that island or someone? I don't know. It sounds really good, and I love the cover. Kind of perfect for spring and summer. It's got like Hawaiian flowers and stuff all over it. So I'm excited to get to this one. It sounds like it'll be a really fast-paced thriller, which I love. So there you have it. That is The Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. I'm sorry if periodically you've heard Chief whining. He wanted to play with his squeak ball right when I sat down to film, and I took it away and put it up on the dresser, and he can see it, and it's driving him crazy. So every now and then he's whining. I probably need to hide it. Let me go hide it. This next book is one that I've been trying to get my hands on forever, and I finally found it today, and that is Macy Dobbs by Jacqueline Winspear. I think this would be classified as a cozy mystery, but it's a little bit different than any other cozy mystery I've ever read. And the author recently released the most recent in this series. I can't remember what number book, but there's quite a few books at this point. But this one was book number 1. It's the first book in the series, and I've been dying to read it because I think it originally starts out in the late 1920s, early 1930s, and you're following the character Maisie Dobbs, and she's like 13 when she's working as a maid in this really aristocratic household in London, and her employer is like, has like these special skills, I think, and they've got this other friend who also is kind of an investigator of sorts, and they end up taking Macy under their wing and training her up. And then when she's older, she trains as a nurse and enlists in the war in France, and she goes through all this crazy stuff in terms of the war, and I don't really know much more than that, but I love the fact that it's kind of an investigative, sleuthing, you know, just almost action-packed cozy mystery, if that's even a thing. And I'm probably doing a terrible job of explaining it right now, but look it up, read the synopsis. I think you'll really enjoy it if you're interested in this sort of thing. I know I'm excited to get to it because I think the most recent book takes place in World War II. So you can imagine it starts out in the late 20s and goes all the way to World War II. It's a long series. It sounds like there's tons of history and historical elements to it, so I'm really excited to get to it. That is Macy Dobbs by Jacqueline Winspear. And next up, this is another one I've had on my list for a while, and it is called Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. What I found really interesting about this book is the back says that it is the grown-ups version of Harry Potter. Say no more. That's all I really needed to know. But I've heard really good things about it nonetheless. And it says, in the year 2044, reality is an ugly place. The only time teenage Wade Watts really feels alive is when he's jacked into the virtual utopia known as the Oasis. Wade's devoted his life to studying the puzzles hidden within this world's digital confines, puzzles that are based on their creator's obsession with the pop culture of decades past, and that promise massive power and fortune to whoever can unlock them. But when Wade stumbles upon the first clue, he finds himself beset by players willing to kill to take this ultimate prize. The race is on, and if Wade's going to survive, he'll have to win and confront the real world he's always been so desperate to escape. So, kind of futuristic, sci-fi, and it says it's in the year 2044, which really isn't that far off, so that's kind of crazy. But I've heard that people say that if you really love nostalgic, classic music, you will love this, because apparently there's a ton of music references, and that is my jam. Y'all know, if you've been around for a minute, I love classic rock, I love old music, all of that. So sci-fi, classic rock, classic music, an adult's Harry Potter, this has to be good. It just has to be. And I've heard some people didn't like it, so I'm a little teeny bit skeptical, but I think I'll like it, because most people that said they didn't like it, it was because they didn't know any of the music references. So I think I'll really like this one. That is Ready Player One. And lastly, I picked up a nonfiction book that I saw one of my favorite authors recommend just recently, and that is Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. I've read a few others of Malcolm Gladwell's books and always really loved them. His brilliance is just off the charts. He always is able to convey some of the most brilliant, in-depth topics in such a understandable way. I just really love his works. And this one, Talking to Strangers, my other favorite author, Jack Carr, he recommended it recently and said that it is absolutely something that people need to read. The back says, how did Fidel Castro fool the CIA for a generation? Why did Neville Chamberlain think he could trust Adolf Hitler? Why are campus sexual assaults on the rise? Do television sitcoms teach us something about the way we relate to one another that isn't true? Talking to Strangers is a challenging and controversial excursion through history, psychology, and scandals taken straight from the news. In it, Malcolm Gladwell revisits the deceptions of Bernie Madoff, the suicide of Sylvia Plath, and the death of Sandra Bland, throwing our understanding of these and other stories into doubt. Something is very wrong, Gladwell argues, with the tools and strategies we use to make sense of people we don't know. And the resulting conflict and misunderstanding have a profound effect on our lives and our world. So that sounds really, really good. I love Malcolm Gladwell's works, like I said. I love when we dive into history and psychology and just trying to understand the world and the people in it. So this one sounds really good to me. Maybe it's one that, instead of reading a true crime book 1 month, maybe I'll pick this one up instead, since it's kind of along that same vein, kind of the human psyche and things like that. So there you have it. That is Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. Well, that is all the books that I bought today. My mom and I went book shopping, and I have to admit, I feel a lot better. I had a tough week. I had a lot going on at work, but I powered through it. I made it through the week, and I bought some books, and now I feel recharged and ready to go for next week, which is good because I have a couple of trials on Tuesday, so I better be ready to go. Let me know what y'all did this weekend. Have you bought any new books lately? What did you get? And let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them, without spoilers, of course. And I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all.